Get customers thinking about innovation, new technologies, and getting them to see BT as potentially a partner that might be able to enable them to do that. So actually help provide them the link. So as Rob said, Zella box, it's not a BT product. It's not something that BT sell at the moment, but it's a company that we've seen driving some innovation. We think it's something that customers need to be aware of. So we are potentially connecting those links so that if a customer is interested in that, we can make the connection with the guys at Zella box and say potentially you might want to have a conversation. And also it might be something that BT says actually we should be bringing it into our portfolio, so we'll bring it in and we'll sell it as part of our services that we do.
How does it cool itself? I mean, that's going to...
You put it into the aircon system.
So it's aircon.
You have an external aircon, building aircon or something like that plugged into it.
Okay. So it could generate heat as well as keep cool.
You could, I suppose, you could scavenge the heat from it to heat the office.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Circular economy.
Indeed.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just on security, and let's just come over to here on this big screen. Let me just. I'm thinking this video here. I'm just gonna. Oops. Right. Let me just pause this. So do you want to come around a bit so you can all sort of come around? That'll be the screen we're going to look at. So just on BT's research and what BT's got a great history in terms of security, in cyber security and sort of like protecting network and so on. The London Olympics 2012, I mean BT used their own capabilities to protect the London 2012 obviously network from cyber attacks. And there was, how many, still numbers always escape me for this one.
Yeah,
but
I forgot that. It's about 100,000 attacks per day.
Okay, and there are attacks onto the network during that, and it's BT's kind of security capabilities that basically protected that kind of network. Now, we're always trying to innovate in security, obviously trying to keep ahead of, obviously, naughty people, bad people that try to come and attack the network and malware and various things. Some of the latest techniques that we're now having, if I start this video up, this is the Virtual Security Operations Center. So essentially, let me again pause that again. So we actually have physical security operating centers, which are dotted around the world. So they are physical locations with people working in them, being able to put onto screens around the room, sort of bringing in virtual machines and showing attacks or activity on the network, and just sort of having visual screens around them to actually kind of analyse where attacks might be coming from. Now what we're trying to do now is make that more of a virtual environment, because you maybe still need to get people into those physical environments to be able to work together, to actually sort of bring all your brains together to try and work out where an attack is happening and so on. So some research and work that's now taking place is around to do with making that a virtual security operations centre. Okay, so basically I can put on now a virtual reality headset, and within that kind of virtual environment, so this is now the virtual environment that you'd now be seeing in a headset. And what it can mean now is that virtually I could start to drag and drop from our whole kind of database of items things into the room. So all these screens that you're seeing around it would be virtual screens that I'm actually dragging into my virtual environment to try and analyse what the issue is. Because it's a virtual environment, I can then start bringing in other experts from around the world as well. So I need help from the guys we've got out in Sydney or something. So we need to drag them into the virtual environment as well. So we haven't got to get people physically together, but we're able to do it virtually and drag these things up. And because it's a virtual environment as well, then actually I haven't got to have a physical space to have physical screens on the wall, which is lots of costs. I can actually just bring up a virtual environment as and when I need it, and to bring in all the capabilities that I want in that room to solve the issue that I've currently got. So it could make it a far more flexible environment, an embedded environment, so I can actually start to have these visual things put into it. So we're looking at that kind of virtual security operations centre kind of concept to again speed up the resolution and identification of attacks on networks and so on. Okay? So that's something that's happening. When it comes to maybe non-BT companies, that again, innovation. Why we probably have an open innovation kind of approach is that not one company, not one person has the best view on everything. So you don't have a kind of exclusive rights over innovation. So you need to look around for good innovation and seeing what's taking place. So for instance, this is a company called Intesa. So Intesa are looking at, if I go on to one of, they've got examples, look, WannaCry, these malware attacks, and WannaCry is probably one you might have heard about if you're into security. But basically what these guys have discovered is that the code that's written for these malware attacks, and very often are not, involves the kind of the same lines of code continually being used in different malware attacks. So they call that kind of the DNA of code and the genes of the code. So physically, as we've got our own DNA and our own genes, and we're all individuals, then what they're starting to discover is this code that's being written has its own breakup and management of DNA and genes. But the people that are writing it actually start to have and reuse their own code in a number of different malware attacks. And so by analysing the code, they can start to quickly identify whether it is a malware or whether it's not, and therefore also where it's come from. So things like the WannaCry here was made up of genes from the Lazarus malware software and various things. So they can start to learn maybe what software is coming. Before you actually start to implement it, you can actually start to work out whether it's going to be dangerous or not from the way the code has been written, and then also where it's actually come from as well. Okay.
So the first time that WannaCry virus was run through Intesa, all of those genes that you can see there for WannaCry would have been unknown because no one knew what WannaCry was. But the other code that's there helps to identify where it is. So Lazarus, as Rob mentions, they're actually a North Korean sponsored hacking organisation. So gives an indication it's actually going to be malicious. And you can then start to say, okay, well, I've got this amount of unknown code. I've got this amount which I know is from a sponsored North Korean hacking organisation. It's probably not something I want to allow onto my network.
And the other side to companies like this, because they're looking at the DNA of code, the same could then be said about looking at piracy as well, and privacy in code. So if you've got some code that's been written, say, by Microsoft, you can start to see if the DNA of other code that is perpetrating to be Microsoft is actually Microsoft or not from the actual genes of the code. So you can start to work out whether there is actually sort of privacy or piracy concerns with software being written as well. So it's how do you try and take that kind of what these guys are doing into different areas as well. Okay, so same sort of taking innovation and actually just changing it and putting it into other areas. So that's sometimes good innovation as well. I think we're going to move down into one of the other showcases now.
Rob, I've just got a question.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, it's going back to the door.
Yeah.
How did you program your fingerprint into it? So how does the user program that so that effectively it lets them in and out?
In that one, it was we were set up actually on the door,
Right.
so an administrator would come in and actually program you and enrol you into the system.
Right.
I mean, theoretically, you could do that remotely,
Uh-huh.
and obviously then be on the system as a user to go through that door.
But
So,
if you were selling that into like a domestic market, or you had a customer who wanted then to sell this as part of their product portfolio, say Barratt Homes or whatever,
yeah.
would they then? Is there a system where they could install some sort of programming system on the inside of the house to allow it to read all the family's fingerprints and face
Yeah, I suppose
recognition?
you put
Is
it.
that-
Yeah, I'm sure you could put it into learning mode,
Uh-huh.
and actually then to enrol people. I suppose it's yeah. I mean,
The reason I'm asking the question is if these guys are exploring things that they can take out on the road, is there some sort of interactive display, interactive process they could develop around this type of thing, reading fingerprints and then opening gateways, that type of
I
thing?
suppose that's personalisation, isn't it?
Yeah.
In terms of recognising somebody and then having your profile implemented. Same as logging into what we used to call thin clients.
Yeah.
You log into a thin client, which is actually just the pane of glass onto the computer system. You log into it, and obviously it's your login, so you get access to your setup of PCs that are in the cloud, as it were, isn't it? And not everybody else's.
Yeah.
So it's the personalisation by a log on, whether it's log on via a username and password, or is it log on via facial recognition? Is it log on via fingerprint? I mean, you've got an iPad, you use fingerprint to go onto it. I mean, it's face ID, you see. So it's logging you onto your iPad, isn't it? So yeah.
No, I just wondered if there was a box on the other side of the door that did it all for you.
Not in this instance, no.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
Right.
Thank you.
No, keep coming this way.